Good day and welcome to the Pan Global Resources Investor Webcast. I'm Jason Mercier, the Vice President of Investor Relations and Communications with Pan Global. And with me today is Tim Moody, the President and CEO. Today's webcast has a number of different topics. First being an update on our flagship project, the Escacena Project in southern Spain. Secondly, introducing the Cármenes Project, which is in the north of Spain, something that the team is quite excited about, and Tim will get into some of the details about that. With one of the only copper-focused projects in Europe, Pan Global offers a great investment opportunity in a fantastic jurisdiction. I think you'll see some of that in the presentation today, but we also would like you to know that the potential is not just at the Escacena project. Obviously, we have an Aguilas project as well as Cármenes too. So a bigger portfolio, all focusing on discovery in Spain. Just a reminder that participants are on mute and that questions can be asked in the chat. The webcast is being recorded. And a reminder that what Tim and I say today could contain forward-looking statements. I'll pass it over to Tim for the presentation.
Thanks, Jason, and thanks for everyone joining today's webcast. So as Jason mentioned, we have, just a reminder, we have a pretty advanced copper discovery at La Romana in our Escacena project area, and one of the few new copper discoveries in Europe that has the potential also to be brought into production within the next decade, when copper prices are expected to be screaming. So I think it's exciting times for us. Obviously, the junior market's had a tough time in the last couple of years, but I think the signs are all there for a much better second half of the year, and the world's going to need a hell of a lot more copper, and we're in a great location to help deliver that. So I will give just an update on where we're at with our Escacena project, and then, as Jason said, I'll then shift to the news we put out earlier this week on a new project called Cármenes. So just to emphasise that the Escacena project remains our main focus for the company. We're near to resource on La Romana, and we're obviously advancing a new discovery called Cañada Honda. And we have a lot of other pretty exciting targets in that property package. But we do see the new addition of the Cármenes project as being a positive addition to our exploration pipeline, and so we'll just have to watch that space, and I'll give you some more details in a little while. Just a reminder of our location of our Escacena project. We're about 30 kilometres outside of the city of Seville, 35 kilometres thereabouts. Where the Las Cruces first mine operated by First Quantum is about 12 kilometres from our property boundary. The Rio Tinto, the Atalayas mine at the old Rio Tinto project deposit, that's the world's largest VMS deposit. That's about 23 kilometres from our property boundary to the northwest. And right next door to us, Grupo Mexico, with the old Asnahuayán and Los Frailes open pits, which I think the Asnahuayán pit is just 600 metres from our property boundary. So the area has great infrastructure, etc. It's an established mining location with some big operators and so on. So just again zooming in on our Escacena project outlined here in yellow, you can see the location of our La Romana discovery, and just to the north of that, about 3 kilometres to the north, is our Cañada Honda project. So we're about within 6 kilometres of the old Asnahuayán open pit, just shown here. Here's the Los Frailes open pit. And combined, those two deposits had about 160 million tonnes of massive sulphide. And there are a couple of other smaller satellite deposits near that as well. So just a little bit of news that we saw yesterday in one of the Spanish newspapers, El Comercio, which reported that River Mexico will be awarded their mining permit and expecting to commence mining in 2027. It's a 450 million euro project. So that's very good news, obviously, for us, given our proximity to their operation. In fact, the article does also refers to Pan Global as being one of the companies and whose assets are in their spotlight as well, whilst they're also looking at Las Cruces to the east. So really good news for us that there'll be the fourth largest copper producer in the world about to commence building a new mine right on our doorstep. So just an update on our Escacena project. We've now completed 183 drill holes, and it's about 1.5 kilometres long east-west with continuous copper mineralisation. We started targeting testing the target because it was a large gravity anomaly. We got access to the western half of that target, basically from here westwards, only in June last year, so about 12 months ago, and we've now expanded the footprint of the deposit by about 25% to the west, and it's still open. We expect to have results for another 3 holes to report within the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks, hopefully, and we've obviously got more drilling planned, and we think there's potential to grow the deposit perhaps another 300 or 400 metres to the northwest. So more work to do there. It's still growing, and it's it looks like an open pit. Has good open pit mining potential. Again, just another view of this is the 0.2% copper grade shell showing the continuity of the mineralisation. Hasn't been updated, but it will be this image once we get the results of these new holes, and we'll expect to have further drilling results to come through the year as well from the ongoing drilling work. Also, those who may have noticed, we put out some more news this morning. That was some additional, I guess, a follow-up to the metallurgy results that were reported earlier this year. And obviously, we've been showing that the project, the deposit, can produce very excellent grade concentrates for both copper and tin at good and excellent recoveries as well. So that's relative to some of the other mines in all the other mines really in the area. So very good metallurgy. So these new results that we put out this morning were about ore sorting. This was, I guess, the first look to see if there's a way that we might be able to pre-concentrate the mineralisation and extract more value. That has a couple of benefits if ore sorting works here. It could reduce the amount of waste material that you could be transporting and increase the grade of the material that you transport if you were going to truck or ship the material to another mining operation for processing. So that makes it more attractive for surrounding producers. But secondly, it could have economic benefits for a standalone project as well. And we think we're still working on this being a standalone project, and the more we find here, the more that looks possible. So it can, by reducing the amount of waste in the early stages of the sorting through ore sorting, it means you reduce the amount of let's say uneconomic material that goes through the plant. So you end up with a more efficient operation, and it can have positive impacts in terms of reducing the amount of capital costs and the size of equipment, etc. So ore sorting can be a real benefit. And the first tests, which were free, were done in Germany. These tests showed that the mineralisation is amenable to the sorting technology, and further to that, it was able to differentiate between the higher copper mineralisation from the higher tin mineralisation. So that's a real win as well. But also to just differentiate from the waste material, the lower grade copper mineralisation, tin mineralisation. So that means you have potential to eliminate a high proportion of the waste in the early sorting stage before the mineralisation goes into finer crushing and so on to produce a final concentrate. So more drilling results to report soon, and drilling ongoing at Laramana as things go. So Kenyatta Honda, our other discovery, we've been drilling here through the year. Again, it's a pretty exciting target for a couple of reasons. We've been hitting sort of all grades and widths in the drilling so far, pretty wide space drilling. But it's the size of the target here. It's about a 3 kilometre long gravity anomaly and coincident helicopter electromagnetic target. The shape of it is very similar to the Aguas Tenidas deposit, also the Sotiel and Magoyas deposit. They're both about 3 kilometres long. There's sort of a series of separate ore bodies in a line, if you like. Both of those are about 100 million tonne deposits, each of them. So, Kenyatta Honda is a very big target. It's going to take persistence. It's going to take quite a bit more drilling, and particularly as following this gravity anomaly. But anyway, more work to do on that one. So this is the gravity map. The gravity anomaly actually continues off this page. The bar here shows 2 kilometres, but it actually extends 3 kilometres, as I mentioned. So we've got drilling ongoing. The last results we reported from here included 8 metres at 2.6 grams gold in hole 8, 14 metres of about 0.8% copper, 0.4 grams gold. That's about 1.1%, 1.2% copper equivalent. Hole 12 with 17 metres at 1.6 grams gold, plus a copper interval below that, etc. So these are pretty decent intersections at this early stage. So the next 3 holes that have been completed, and we expect to report hopefully within the next 2 weeks, are on the northern edge of the gravity target. But I guess we're hitting mineralisation, but the exciting thing is the trend and vector towards the mineralisation following the gravity and EM trend in this direction. So we have 3 more planned holes here. In fact, we have more than that planned going further along the target that we hope to complete through the year as well. So very big target. More news to report very shortly from the latest drilling here as well. As many of you know, we've got a lot of other untested targets in the Escacena Project area, one of which is clearly a high priority because of the size and location of the target, which is called Bravo. It's just to the east of our Laramana discovery. This is the Laramana gravity anomaly. The Bravo target is, I guess it's an area we've never had boots on the ground. We've never been able to access the farm. We've been trying to negotiate access to that over the last couple of years or so. It has some old Exxon IP information along the southern margin of it. It also has a helicopter EM anomaly on the southern edge. So if all of this geology at Laramana continues in that direction and dips to the north, that makes this gravity anomaly, and combined with the other geophysics, makes this a pretty high priority target for us. Of course, we don't know what it is. We need to go in and do the groundwork and then do some drilling to find out. But if that's mineralisation, it could be another sort of bigger discovery for us. So, exciting one. Hopefully, I'll be able to. We're certainly hoping to have boots on the ground at Bravo within the next 3 or 4 weeks, and I'll report that as soon as we get people on the ground there. So the planned work there would be some initial close space gravity surveying. The gravity information we've got at the moment is sort of 200 by 200 metre data from the old Exxon survey in the early 1980s. So we'll follow up with a detailed gravity survey, surface geochemistry and mapping, and then probably some other ground geophysics like IP, just to help best position the drill holes. So just as soon as we can, we'll get on there, start that groundwork, and then aim to drill this thing before the end of the year. So exciting target, and hopefully good news that we'll be on the ground there soon. Okay, so the new project area we announced on Tuesday, the Cármenes Project. This was something that I guess we spotted and took an interest in back in 2019, but it wasn't until 2022 that we acquired the property. It was, I guess, an opportunistic acquisition. Came with no royalties or anything like that. Had some existing exploration information, very little drilling, and lots of targets, some of which are walk-up drill targets. So we saw the potential here for really, exceptional grade mineralisation in breccia pipes primarily, and our main targets here are what we call the Providencia breccia pipe. It's an old mine, and the old Profunda mine as well. So far we've had some due diligence mapping and sampling completed, which are reported early this week. We've been able to map breccias over the surface of the Providencia target from over about an area 300 metres by 100 metres. This hosts the old historical mining, but also we found some gossans in that area, which have reported some quite high gold numbers as well. So that suggests the old mine has potential to expand, and the surface footprint is obviously pretty attractive as well. The Profunda target as well looks to have very similar dimensions. So we're following up already. We've got a team on the ground. In fact, I went and visited the area this morning, and we're collecting about 1,000 soil samples and doing some other surface rock chip geochemistry, and also some further sampling in some of the old mines where we can get access as well. So quite a big program going on at the moment, but it's pretty low cost. We're using portable XRF for the geochemistry, so it's really just people time mostly at this point. But we'll also commence the process of getting permitting to be able to drill the Providencia target initially, but and then later on the Profunda target as well. Just to put you in the location here, about 50 to 60 kilometres north of the city of Leon, and the city of Oviedo just to the north of us. But you can see we're within this sort of major belt outlined by these two red lines here, with the Orvalle mine. It's a copper gold skarn deposit or mine. It's been operating probably 30 or 40 years now. I visited probably 20 years ago when it was a very successful mining operation being run by Rio Narcia. But there are some other exploration with a London-listed company looking at the old El Aramo mine workings, very similar style mineralisation to what we have in the Cármenes Project area. There's also a famous Roman gold mine here at Salomon off to the east of us. But there are lots of small mine workings and as the case at Cármenes, some bigger ones as well throughout this belt. This is a mining area just to the south of our property. There were quite a lot of coal mines, some quite big ones. And when you drive on the road from Cármenes to Leon, you pass through a series of small towns, and most of those were built for mining. So it's quite a promising belt, and the style of mineralisation is not well known in Spain, and the metal combination between copper, nickel and cobalt with some gold as well is also a little unusual. So this is just a couple of cross sections. If these are both east-west cross sections, but if we do a north-south one, they also show sort of similar dimensions. Very steep bodies, pipe-like geometries, and this just shows some of the underground mine workings here at Providencia and the underground sampling both by ourselves and the previous company, CM Calcer. And what's interesting is just how consistent the grades and so on from this underground rock grab sampling throughout this mine. And the sampling was done down to about the level of where there was water, so we couldn't get to the deeper parts of that. But the mineralisation remains open. Mining stopped here in about 1930 when there was when coincided with the start of the Spanish Civil War. But there were some attempts to restart mining, but they couldn't deal with the water. So really, no work has been done on Providencia, and there's never been drilled. So it's a pretty exciting target, and we're looking to drill a couple of holes in here pretty soon. The other target, Profunda, it's probably a bigger pipe in some respects. In the mine workings extend about 260 metres deep. Again, the mineralisation is completely open at depth. There's a big open stope here, where we call La Cuevona. I stood at the entrance to that this morning, and you can see the high-grade mineralisation, in just on the edges of it. And the same at Providencia. I walked inside some of these mine workings at the upper levels here, and you could see high-grade, copper mineralisation all around you in the underground mine workings. But spectacular grades. They're averaging 2.5% copper, 1.3% nickel, 0.7% cobalt in the Providencia sampling. And at Profunda, there's only been 8 samples, but we're collecting some more now. Those 8 samples averaging about 10% copper, again some nickel and cobalt, etc. So unusual grades, very high grade mineralisation. There's only ever been one drill hole in Profunda that passed through a 7-metre mine cavity, and then it intersected about 2 metres of really, again, very high grade copper, nickel, cobalt mineralisation, I think averaging about 7% over those 2 metres. So that's an indication of the high grades that were being extracted from the Profunda mine as well. So we feel that that this is a target that's worthy of inclusion in our portfolio, purely because of the size potential of very high grades. It's a pretty straightforward exploration program in a mining area. So I think this is a pretty exciting target for us. Already the sampling program that's underway and the mapping that's ongoing is identifying more areas of copper and alteration. So this type of deposit, breccia pipes typically occur in clusters. So we fully expect we're going to find more of these things with careful exploration. So and you can see some of the Gossan samples on this map. You can see the footprint of the old mine workings at Providencia here. The 6 Gossan samples we've collected, averaging nearly 4 grams gold, bit of some copper, nickel, etc. And I walked around on the surface here this morning, and you could see copper in outcrop. You could see some Gossans in outcrop, and Gossan float, lying around over quite a wide area in this on the east of the old mine workings. So, as I mentioned, never been drilled before. Good size potential and unusually high grades. Here's a picture, just some of the photos of some of the copper mineralisation they're finding at surface during this current soil sampling and mapping program throughout the area. So, there's definitely more mineralisation out there that has not been found before. All right, just so to wrap it up, we've already put out this year some drill results both from Cañada Honda and La Romana. La Romana continues to grow. The metallurgy looks excellent, and the new sorting results also show further opportunities here that the mineralisation could be amenable to sorting, and which an upgrading of the concentrate, which has creates further opportunities for transporting the material to other mines, but also potentially economic benefits in a standalone operation as well. So those results were very good. And then we've also reported some results from Cañada Honda this year. And going forward now, we've got, as I showed, more drill results to report very shortly from Cañada Honda, and within the next 3 or 4 weeks, or thereabouts, we hope to have some additional results from Laramana to report, and then there'll be the ongoing drill results to come through the remainder of the year. Of course, we are hoping to be drilling some other targets. We've been very tight with our funding this year, but we are under budget, and we've got funding to take us through to into next year. Clearly, access to the Bravo target and the possibility of drilling that before the end of the year is a very strong objective for us. Also, look out for the results from the ongoing exploration at the Cármenes Project, and hopefully drilling the first 1 or 2 drill holes at the Providencia breccia pipe before the end of the year as well, if we can do that. We're still working towards a mineral resource for Laramana. As I've said a number of times, we haven't published a resource yet. We're hoping to complete the delineation of the western extension of the deposit before we do that, and we're also just watching to see how the results eventually go at Cañada Honda as well. But we're certainly working, getting close to putting out a mineral resource for Laramana, and follow that with a PEA very, very quickly as well. So lots of news to come. We realise we've had a bit of a quiet patch while we've been waiting for drill results over the last few weeks, but as I mentioned the other day to someone, expect an avalanche of news over the next couple of months, hopefully. So I'll leave it there, Jason, and open it up for Q&A.
That's great, Tim. We're going to bounce between the questions that we got in advance and some of the questions that have come through on the Q&A chat. Staying with Escacena for now, and Laramana and the extension. With the amount of drilling that's been done on Romana West, how comfortable are you on the overall Laramana tonnage surpassing 20 million tons, as one analyst has surmised?
Yeah, again, obviously without having published a resource, I don't want to give sort of misleading information, but I certainly think something in the order of 20 to 30 million tons is a reasonable likelihood. Could it be more? Well, that depends on how much further it's going to grow. But look, I think those estimates of size and so on are probably pretty reasonable. It's going to depend what cutoffs we're going to use, etc. But that's probably a pretty reasonable number.
Looking at the 2 discoveries that are at Laramana, Cañada Honda, and there's other gravity targets at Escacena. When do you expect to start drilling some of those other targets?
Yeah, obviously with the being tight with our funds this year, and we set out as our main objectives to continue to delineate the western extension of Laramana and expand and further test the Cañada Honda target. So we haven't at this stage considered doing some, or we have considered it, but we haven't put in the plan earlier in this year to drill any other targets. But given that we are under budget, we would like to drill a couple more of those new targets before the end of the year, and I hope we can announce something about that very, very soon. So Bravo obviously is a pretty high priority one. I mentioned the Providencia target in the Cármenes area, but we have other targets that we'd like to drill as well. So yes, the short answer is yes. I expect we will be drilling perhaps another 2 or 3 new targets before the end of the year.
Okay. You said in a recent interview that the Cañada Honda target is now looking like it's 3 kilometers long. Previously in presentations, it was 2 kilometers long. What changed?
Yeah, well, it's always been about 3 kilometers long. I guess the slide that we've been using, chops off the target after about 2 kilometers. So, but both the gravity anomaly and the helicopter electromagnetics targets extend for about 3 kilometers east-west. So, we'll look to update those slides to show the full size and scale of those targets in the very, very near term.
Okay. Now looking at ore sorting. Has the ore sorting technique been successfully tried before in the copper sector in Spain?
I'm not sure there's any using this new technology, sorting technology that we've just been testing in Spain. I'm sure that ore sorting has been perhaps used in somewhere, but I don't know exactly where. We do know that there's at least one other company in the producer, my understanding, in the Iberian Pirate Belt that is testing the same technology that we've just tested. Um, whether they're ready to implement it or not, I don't know. But we do know that someone else in the belt is using it. It is being used on I think, a tungsten mine in northern Spain, and it's been looked at, I think, by at the Toral project, which is I think Europa Minerals and Denarius are working on, so up in northern Spain. But elsewhere, the technology is being used in mines, both for copper and for tin. So, which are obviously the two main products we've got at La Romana. Yeah, there's plenty published about the implementation of the TOMRA ore sorting technology in other mines. I'm thinking South Africa here, and also I think First Quantum have been using it, but also at the San Rafael tin mine in Peru is another example, but there are others.
Besides the metallurgy that's been announced previously, and then today the ore sorting testing that you've done, um, there was mention in the release about the PEA. Have you started any other work that's needed for a PEA?
Yes, so we've been following the metallurgy test work we've done, which the metallurgists that have been managing the program for us believe is at a pre-feasibility level. We don't need to really do any more metallurgy unless we see something changing in the mineralisation as we continue drilling to the west at La Romana. We have enough information at this stage, so we're using that information now to start working on the sort of basic engineering design, sizing of equipment, all of that work. Those studies are ongoing at the moment. The sorting technology will sort of feed into that and potentially influence the flow sheet. We've also started environmental baseline work probably over 2 years ago now, so that's quite advanced as well. So we are doing a lot of other work around that, such that when we do come out with a resource, the PEA can follow that fairly quickly, if not simultaneously.
I guess related to that question, with the other producers in the area, like Grupo Mexico or First Quantum or Atalaya, is it feasible to work with them to do ore processing? And if so, what would that kind of conceptually look like?
Yeah, well, we have an excellent relationship with the other producers. Obviously, First Quantum at Las Cruces, that's sort of on pause at the moment. It's fully permitted to go underground there. They have obviously a plant there and the license to operate at that mine. But following the Panama issue that they've had, they've put Las Cruces up for sale. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that, whether they keep the project or there's a new owner. So I can't really speak to what may happen in the future there. But we're close enough that we could put stuff on a conveyor belt to that operation. And then Grupo Mexico in the news that I mentioned earlier today is with the likelihood now that they're going to be in production, or the mine starting in 2027. We are within a sort of the brownfield. We're more like a brownfields site, given our proximity to their operation. We're really almost in the shadow of the head frames as such. So I think that it is a possibility that we could be sending material there if that's something they want to do as well. And we'll need to sort of evaluate our own position. Atalaya is not that far away either, but this is where some of the sorting work can be quite helpful. if you start to reduce the amount of waste material that you might be transferring or shipping to one of these other operations, then you're upgrading the material that you are putting on the trucks or whatever to those other projects. So it makes it more valuable, more attractive for those other operations for processing. The other, I guess, reason that we believe the mineralisation we've got is could be attractive is because of the qualities of the copper concentrate or the copper mineralisation and the tin as well. But the copper in particular, we don't have deleterious minerals. It's coarser grained, etc. We've shown that we can produce a much higher grade concentrate than most of the other mines are producing. So this could have value for blending with most of the other mines, all dealing with some level of penalty elements or contaminants and so on. So this could have additional value for them, not only because it might increase the volumes that they can produce, concentrate, etc.
Great. And one more question on Escacena, and then moving on to the Cármenes. When do you think will have access to Bravo, and when do you think you will be able to drill in that area?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, I'm quite hopeful that we will, more than hopeful, I expect we will have boots on the ground there within the next month. And I will make an announcement just as soon as we do have boots on the ground. But it looks pretty imminent. And in terms of when we can drill, look, we'd like to drill that pretty as soon as possible, but we need to do the basic works first. We're still working with old historical gravity data. We've never had boots on the ground there, so just as we did on the western extension of La Romana, when we got access to that project, we had boots on the ground the next day, and once we got that access, and we were drilling within sort of 6 weeks to 2 months. So hopefully we can follow a similar pathway on the Bravo target, complete the gravity surveying, etc., and have a drill rig on there within a few months as well.
Okay, so turning to Cármenes, when and how did Pan Global get the opportunity to acquire the project? It looks like a project that other competitors might be interested in acquiring.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we first were interested in the area back in 2019, and we thought perhaps this might be something we could perhaps JV or acquire from the owners at that time, which was CM Calcer. This was a state-owned mineral exploration company set up to promote mining and find new mining projects for the state. So that's when we first approached them, but nothing eventuated at that point. But we were interested in the project because of the sort of unusual grades, etc., and style of mineralisation. But then in 2022, there was an opportunity when CM Calcer decided to wind up their business and divest their projects. The Cármenes Project was probably jewel in the crown in terms of their suite of exploration projects. We put a bid in for that, and we were successful. So that was sometime in 2022. Then took it some time to get the mineral rights transferred from CM Calcer into Pan Global's Spanish subsidiary company's name, and then of course we did some further due diligence, sampling, etc. And as I've seen, we've set a pretty high bar in terms of taking on new areas, and we felt this one was met that bar. It was size and grade in an area we feel we can work, and it looks like we've got sort of walk up drill targets. So I should remind people that the Escacena project was an opportunistic acquisition as well. We started when I started with Pan Global. We were working on the Aguilas project, which we still have in our portfolio and we still like. But the opportunity came up to pick up some ground in the Iberian Pirate Belt, and we took it. Obviously, we had the success with the first drilling at La Romana. So Cármenes is another opportunistic acquisition, and let's hope we can have replicate the success we had at the Escacena project. But just to be clear as well, the Escacena project remains our focus. It's where we've got no shortage of targets to test, and we're obviously near to coming to producing resource at La Romana as well. So yeah, hopefully that gives the history.
Okay. Just a couple more questions before we wrap it up. Do you have relevant exploration experience on breccia pipes in general and in Spain?
Yes, we do. I've worked on some breccia pipes. Certainly, when I was at work, my time in South America. In fact, I've worked with quite a large one in Peru, and also I think Alvaro Moreno, who's the VP of Exploration, he's worked on breccias as well. So we've expertise there. But further to that, we have one of the geologists, one of our senior geologists in the team, worked for Siem Calcer. He was involved in a lot of that original sampling, etc. Very good geologist, provides some continuity for us as well. So he's familiar with the breccia pipes and so on in that location.
Great. And I guess to wrap it up, just as a regional comment about the Lyon region, is it as active as Andalusia for mining exploration? And are there other exploration companies operating there?
Yeah, there are other exploration companies. I mentioned the Toral project, which is just one of them. That's already published a resource. I think it's 20 million tons of mainly zinc and some lead, etc. That's a JV with Denarius. But there are others. Our Cármenes project is surrounded by other mineral rights as well. And I mentioned the history. It's had a long history of coal mining, in particular in the area. There's some big coal mines just between Lyon and the Cármenes project. All I can say is there's lots of mineral rights still active, and there are other companies exploring in the area. So just in terms of the interest in our project, when it became, I guess, known that we'd managed to acquire that property from Siem Calcer, the Cármenes property, we did get it. We have since had an approach from another group. So there is interest in that project, but we want to do some work on it before we consider our options for that in the future.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for your questions today. If we did not get to them, we'll be reviewing those afterwards, and I'll be getting back to all of you. One thing that I think, as Tim said, our focus remains on the Escacena project. The La Romana deposit in particular, as an accessible near-surface copper deposit, is a rarity in Spain in the Iberian Pirate Belt, but it's also a rarity globally now. So we've got something that's very special, and in Europe, in a great jurisdiction that understands mining. The amount of supply chain disruptions, resource nationalism that's been occurring, and the copper being added to the Critical Raw Materials Act by the EU, all these things are tailwinds for a project like ours. And the opportunistic acquisition of the Cármenes project as another copper project to grow the portfolio, I think also just broadens the story, but keeps the focus on copper and the focus on Europe, where I think there's a real opportunity for investors. We think this approach is obviously the right way to go. Obviously, Tim and I are always interested in feedback from all of you on the webcast, but also on where we're going with the projects. So with that, I say thank you very much, and good day to all, and pass it over to Tim.
Yeah, thanks everyone. As Jason said, we welcome any additional questions. Please do get in touch with us. And follow the news with Grupo Mexico. With that news, that's pretty exciting for us, seeing such a big producer on our doorstep. Now looks like they've got the green light to start construction, etc.
Great. Thank you. Good day.